Nick Tenconi, lovely to see you at last. Long overdue this one, I think, Nick. It's been a while. We should have got together some time ago, I guess. Welcome to, we're close to Gatwick today.
We are.
Look, Nick, I've been looking forward to this one, but I think the first thing to do is get, I suppose it's a small elephant, but an elephant out of the room. It's probably no secret to you, at least, that, you know, maybe I've not been your biggest supporter in the past. I've certainly taken my time, at least, in having you on my channel, rightly or wrongly. But in the past, I'll admit, there's been one or two little doubts about yourself and the way things were going. But I said to you before we go on camera, I have to admit, you've turned me around. You know, I'm completely, you know, is it 180 degrees, whatever it is, all the way around for whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you've really been impressing me of late. You know, you've stuck by your guns. I think so many people now resonate with you and your message. What makes Nick Tenconi? I mean, you've been really upfront lately. So what's going on?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for meeting with me, Paul, and agreeing to do this interview.
It's my pleasure.
Technically speaking, time goes by so very quickly. Technically speaking, I've really had a crack of the whips since 6 months ago. So actually everything in its time, and I'm grateful to you for meeting with me and for platforming me and our message. I'm not sure it's for me to say what my leadership style is, or indeed what I am. I think that's up to the British public to decide. But I know both leadership style and in terms of, to your question, who and what is Nick Tenconi, it's what this country needs. It's what's going to save Britain. So for example, I could say words like action, duty, fearlessness, courage, God-fearing. I'm very, very disappointed with the establishment. I'm very, very upset with those people who have betrayed us. And I have always been most interested in the theme of justice. I think it's right, I think it's proper, and I think it should be in the forefront of the minds of politicians. So I'm honoured and humbled that people are waking up to the purple light.
I think they certainly are. I mean, your style of leadership is very different. Some might say, including myself probably up until recently, a little bit controversial.
When we send the illegals home, when we send the Islamists home, when we send the migrants who hate us home, when we send the migrants who are here to subvert our culture home, you will be sat on the plane next to them. Yeah! You're going home!
Is that a route that you've gone down deliberately, or is that just you as a person? Is that the way you are?
Yeah, certainly. I think if we looked at specific examples, I could add a bit more value, but yes, everything that the people are seeing and hearing, down to the finer details, it's quite literally who and what I am. And before I go off in the wrong direction, I'd probably suggest it's prudent to give some examples. But certainly, yeah, this is who and what I am. I believe this is what I'm here to do. From my education, higher learning or university degree, whatever you want to call it, commercially, all the steps that I bore you with now, everything has led, my personal life, my business life, everything has led to this opportune moment. So yeah, what people are seeing and hearing is very much me, if you will.
I think one of the big turning points for me is when I watched you with, a very good friend of mine, Liam. I thought that was an amazing interview, and I think Liam's very good at drawing people out. And I think we saw, for the first time for me, the real Nick Tenconi, which really impressed me and a lot of other people. But going back to your style of doing what you do, last week I was challenged by someone, I don't know who it was, on X. They said, why don't you come down to Portsmouth on Saturday, stand on the front line with us and see what it's like. Now, I didn't actually respond to it, but if I had of, my answer would have been, look, I'm 64 nearly. Getting a bit past it, if I'm honest, mate, right? And I watched you on Saturday. and I watch the venom and the spew and the bile and the hatred that comes from the other side. Nick, I've got to be honest, I can't take it. You know, how do you deal with that bullshit?
You know, you're right. It is vile. It's utterly vile in terms of our opposition at street level. Indeed, our enemies, they are filled with hatred. Be they communists or Islamists, their ideology and religion is an ideology and religion of hatred. They despise life.
There's no talking to them, is there?
There's no reasoning with them. There's no reasoning with them. There's no logic. They don't care about truth and facts. The fascistic modern day left have clubbed together with every single so-called minority under the banner of their shared ideology, which is far left fascism or far left extremism or communism. Communism and Islamism are best friends.
Yeah.
They are bedfellows. So what we have for your viewers, when we're going to continue to do the mass deportations demos, protests, our numbers are growing. We're going to do one a month, and each time the public sees the banner, the speeches, the words, the actions, how people behave, it inspires them that yes, true, whilst you have so much hatred and vitriol and frankly evil in our opposition, in our enemies, what stands out more and more is the hope and the pride and the joy and the coming together and the unity of patriots under the banner of mass deportations. And what's actually happening, as we see the right is so commonly referred to as being so splintered and fractured, that is due to their failure to accept and embrace one ideology. That's why the left seem to be cohesive, because they embrace and accept one ideology, but be under no illusion at the ballot box they fight like cats and dogs. Lib Dems against Labour against Greens. On the right, we do the same thing. It's the demoralisation of Britain campaign, or the right are so splintered and fractured. People must stop saying this. The left have the same problem, it's just that they're united in their ideology. The right must become united in their ideology, and what we're doing behind the scenes with our activism is showcasing bravery, duty. There's nothing to be afraid of, be called names, etc. Yes, it's a very hostile environment, but this is our war. The war we are in is a crusade. This is our crusade. So there's lots of things there are lots of fruits produced from these protests. And we're saying to good people, if you live within 50, 100 miles, come down, check it out for yourself, and then go and tell people about it. And it's completely understandable what you say about that atmosphere of hatred. It's not a nice place to be, but overcoming that is to see just how brave people are on the right, the patriotic right, and people are realizing that we've forgotten who we are. Well, the only way to overcome fear is to quite literally overcome it, feel the fear and do it anyway. That's the message, and that's what people are waking up to.
I think one of the things for me is, I mean, you're very articulate, very well educated, probably in precise opposite to me. Where I come from, people settled arguments with their bloody fists, you know. So dealing with people that refuse to debate is very frustrating for people with perhaps less of an education or a vocabulary excellence. And I find it such a toxic environment that I think this is going to explode my head. I can't deal with these people. I just don't want to be anywhere around them, you know. But look, fair play to you and to those that do stand up to these people. Is that something that they have? Is that something that the left has over the right? Their ability to stick together almost and not be splintered until the vital moment of, say, an election?
There are a number of things that hold the left together. I'm forced to remind again about ideology. You see, the fascistic left has blended into the modern day left, and that isn't common parley. That's not in mainstream media. You won't hear politicians saying, mainstream media, how often do you hear the word Islamism? How often do you hear the word communism? How often do you hear the phrase far left extremism?
Never.
You will not hear it. We can't rely on the mainstream media to do the right thing by the people. The mainstream media, the establishment, our institutions, one and the same thing. They despise us, and they're working for a certain sect. They have their overlords. We'll come on to that. So there's a reason why we're never going to get a result there. The left's ideology, the far left's ideology, is communism. That is to basically make us all equally miserable, equally poor, equally unhealthy, equally sad, equally depressed.
Yeah.
Why should you be prosperous and happy?
They're trying to drag you down to their level.
They want us at their level.
Yeah.
So that religion, the modern day left, has got into bed with the far left. Again, you won't hear that in the mainstream media. Plus the Islamists, obviously, the communists are useful to the Islamists. So they're united in their ideology. So I'm talking about modern day politics. There are different times and different periods where that wasn't necessarily the case, but it is now the case. There's the modern day fascism. And Britain is very much run as a far left fascist state. We already have fascism. It's a far left ideology that's running the state. And in terms of what you say, the monopoly, what holds them together, etc.
Yeah.
Where we win and where we triumph is that good always wins over evil. Their religion is that of hatred. Their religion is that of you're either with us or against us, and what we stand for is that you will believe in what we believe in, and if you don't, you're actually a fascist. That is as despicable and as outrageous and as wrong as it gets. On Saturday we had a councillor, I want to say his name's either Simon or Steve Pitt, he's leader of Portsmouth Council. He went on the mic, stood next to Antifa, which under a UKIP government would be a prescribed communist terror organisation, and he denounced everyone on the right, our side, the patriotic right, filled with veterans, by the way, as Nazis. So we've taken to social media, a small crack team have taken to social media to call him out. I know for a fact that he wasn't at a charity event in Portsmouth the other night, and I also know that he's MIA from his office at the moment, probably hiding under a rock somewhere, because the right, going back to your point about what do the left have over us, the right like their houses, they like their driveways, they like their cars, they like their capitalism, they like their money. This goes hand in hand with our ideology, conservatism. We've forgotten about the nationalism side.
Yeah.
We've forgotten about being nationalists. It's no longer the case that conservatism is good enough, patriotism. It must be nationalism now, and what I'm endorsing and advocating for is Christian nationalism, and I know that the Liberals and the Secular Brigade will have no issue with that whatsoever, because they understand that Christianity built the West, and our sense of identity, our sense of belonging is found in our faith, be they agnostic or atheist. So the left have nothing over us. We've just forgotten who we are, and we've embraced indifference, apathy, weakness, and there's cowardice involved in there. The establishment have done this to us, yes, but there's only one way out of this, and that's for us to pick up our cross and fight back.
Absolutely. I mean, you won't get any arguments out of me with any of that. I mean, I think I'm probably the perfect example, a result of the mainstream media and the blob not listening to ordinary moderate people. I've always considered myself to be a moderate, centre-right, a conservative. But as the years have gone by, people like me have been pushed further and further and further to the point where we just can't take anymore. And I was saying the other day about Tommy, you know, if the left wanted Tommy to go away, stop lying about him. Give him a voice. Let him have his say. Instead of trying to bury him and bury the truth. We'll get on to Tommy a little bit later, but before we do, Rupert Lowe recently with Reform in general, Ben Habib. What do you make of the current spat?
I'm really disappointed that all seem to have taken to a public space like Twitter to air their dirty laundry. So I want that to be made clear first and foremost. We all know Ben Habib's a good guy. We all know he's got the nation's best interests at heart. We know Rupert Lowe's a good guy, and he's got the nation's best interests at heart.
Would you welcome both into UKIP?
Yeah, certainly. So I pitched Ben in December. We've met several times. He's been kind to us at Turning Point. He's looked after us. We've got a lot of time and respect for Ben. He's very likeable and affable, which always helps.
Yeah.
I pitched him in December. He said, leave it with me. I gave it the proverbial 48 hours. He said, no, not yet. He's obviously leading up the British CPAC, which their fantastic CEO, Claire's, asked me to be a part of. Of course, I've signed up to it. I'm an activist, I'm a politician, I'm a campaigner, I'm a frontline foot soldier, I'm lots of different things. I need to see action, I need to see results, but anything that helps, I'm sure we're going to come on to talk about unifying the right and a few other bits and pieces, so it'll be held in context. Rupert, I put a face to camera out, I want to say a week ago Friday, when it kicked off. Dan Wootton was then kind enough, bless him, to clip and to show it when he was interviewing Rupert. So now I know it was put in front of Rupert. Excuse me, I also got hold of the most senior person to Rupert and WhatsApped them. Didn't expect to hear back, that's fine, but made it clear in a text, and then I sent the Dan Wootton clip as well. So I've gone above and beyond when anyone high profile, and you're going to see this more and more, leaves Reform, all the way down to the branch chairs that are leaving now.
And there's a lot of them.
As soon as Gawain Towler was another one, as soon as I see that, I go, are you aware of our policies, manifesto, our missions? Perhaps take a look at my ex. So yes, welcome at the party. Big fan of both of them. I think Rupert's done a fantastic job of showcasing activist politics and the results born in Parliament as a result of his freedom of information requests and migration exposés. And I would want both Ben and Rupert to continue to do the good work that they do. For example, Ben with Brexit, for example, in the Windsor framework. The UKIP members have been through enough in terms of leadership swaps. It's been a very tumultuous time. It's very time consuming running a party. I wouldn't want them involved with the internal affairs of the party. I would want them doing what they do as activists.
So let's look at it from the public's viewpoint for a moment, Nick. They got the choice, they can stick with Reform, which I'm coming to the conclusion that it's a waste of time. They can sign up with UKIP. Some of them might potentially, God forbid, end up going back to the Tories. Or there's rumours of a new party starting, potentially. I mean, they are only rumours, but there's talk of it. I don't know what you've heard, but it's a tough situation for everyone right now, isn't it? A lot of people are still clutching at the Reform straw. A lot of people have decided to make that jump to UKIP.
Sure.
There's another portion of people, I did a poll on this, and the results were remarkable. And there appears to be another section of people that are waiting for a new party. What are your feelings on potentially a new party, and why do you think that will be the wrong thing or the right thing? I don't know. Would it?
Certainly, it would be a betrayal that most people probably wouldn't get over, and I don't think that I know that the British public can't take any more. So we were already, in terms of betrayal and having our hearts broken. That was a long time ago. Maybe it was a terror attack. Maybe it was something to do with Boris Johnson. Probably Nigel as well. You ask any former UKIPper their thoughts on Nigel, it's scathing. It's scathing. Ask them. Don't take my word for it.
I'm aware of it.
It's real. It's hatred. It would be a disaster of epic proportions. So in one breath, you've got the populist right, or the conservative right, patriotic right, whatever you want to call it. We've got no time left. We're taking our country back, and then two people, again rumours, two people go, right, let's start up a new party. I believe there are 18 parties on the right. I haven't counted to distinguish between right and far right, but I believe there are about 18. Madness, absolute madness. I ask your viewers, please look at our 6 missions. They're in graphic format across social media. 30 seconds later, you're edified. It's not a long read. Take a look at our policies, which are in our manifesto. 69 pages. If it's not for you, go to the contents table, pick the area, typically immigration, and have a read through. We've made it as bite-sized chunks, easy to digest as possible. Take a look at my ex, which is at Nick Tenconi. Take a look at my ex. take a look at UKIP's X as well, and tell me what's not to like. Tell me what needs to be in there to save our country that isn't already. UKIP is a well-known brand throughout Europe, throughout the world. The policies, mission, manifesto, the vision, the team, the leadership, we've got it all happening now. There's a logo change coming up, which I'm really excited for because everyone likes a logo, and it's going to be sensational. A new party, splinters and fractures. I mean, what would that even look like? How would, with our momentum and what we're doing now in terms of our supporter base, which is growing exponentially day by day, and our membership base, which, as you know, is a tough nut to crack. But that, and you've got in summer of last year, I stood in Trafalgar Square, 50,000 people tooting the reform horn. I stood there, and we just had a debacle with the leadership. It's taken me less than 8 months to slam the brakes on, turn the ship around, and we're headed. So membership's creeping up nicely, but the support pool, it's growing. So what? So produce another party. What's that going to do in the age of controlled opposition and espionage and rumours and?
So get behind UKIP. That's what you're saying.
Not only from a obviously that's my. Of course I would say that, but more than that, it's not about me or UKIP. What would that do? I'm asking people to consider. What would that do to an already so-called splintered, fractured right?
Is the worry that UKIP is like? Over the years, I'm not talking about since you've taken over, but over the years, there's been a lot of fuss and drama. I mean, we've had Henry Bolton, we had the time when Anne-Marie Waters was gonna, hopefully at that time, I was hoping that she was gonna get the leadership of the party. Some people might feel that UKIP's a bit, not busted flush, but old news. So the rebranding is really important.
Yeah, certainly. No, I'm not insensitive to that point at all. I do get it. What is it about marketing and people?
But it's also a household name as well at the same time.
I'm not insensitive to the point. There's something about new, exciting momentum. I get it. We're saving our country. It's not a popularity contest. We're saving our country. This is
a fashion show.
It's not a fashion show. This is about words on a piece of paper. We are going to mass deport those who do not deserve to be here, who do not belong here, and begin the process of remigration with those who are here to subvert our culture. These are British citizens. This is remigration. They have a British passport. They're waking people up to the realities of what it's going to take our country back. They're words on a piece of paper in policy format, LCOM approved, everything's ready to go, and 8-9 months, give or take, we're into it. So it's not a fashion show. People have got to get serious. Another party. And my question would be, is it going to be another liberal conservative party under that broad tent, broad church?
Not with Ben and Rupert in charge, but I do you know what, Nick, I agree, I'm really more interested in potentially Rupert and Ben and people like that joining UKIP down the line. Now, if they did, what sort of position would you want to give them? Where would they sit in UKIP, do you think?
So I think that if that were to happen, my question would remain, which has already been asked, and that's what would you like?
Yeah, where would you want to be?
Yeah. Where would you want to be? Same question to Tommy.
Great answer.
Same question to Tommy.
Yeah.
Same question to Katie, if she drops the reform nonsense as well. The same question, and then it's a conversation from there.
Talking about Tommy and Katie, so both will be welcome into UKIP.
Certainly.
Absolutely. You've made it clear in the past that Tommy would be welcome, but I guess you understand that's going to bring its own problems. It's going to marginalise you. It's going to bring the heat. Have we got to the point now where we just got to say, do you know what? Sod the heat. It's time to stand up.
We love the heat.
Yeah.
More heat.
Fight back.
Oh yeah, bring it on.
Trump.
Yeah, we want to fight.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be glorious. We want to fight. Bring the heat. So we're not interested in those people who aren't going to vote for us. We have no time left. We're interested in the 40% who don't vote, who have had their lives irreparably damaged and destroyed by establishment corruption and indifference. Most of whom think Tommy's a hero.
Yeah.
Starmer has we've witnessed and Starmer's shown that you can win a huge majority on a third of the vote.
Yeah.
All of this in terms of our strategy, operational roadmap, endeavours is achievable. It's all feasible. It's all doable. And we're not interested in the opinions or concerns of liberals and communists.
I love that. My next question was, how do you deal with the mainstream media? Because you can't appease the buggers, right? But you've just answered that. You go on the attack.
Oh yeah, 100%. No mercy, no diplomacy, and no surrender.
Yeah.
You're seeing it with Nigel in some of his interviews now.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for about 12 months, where he's there, and already he's put them on the back foot. Now, I'm not. There is some phrase there, he's done it. Psychologically, a year ago, someone's told him, or he's thought, I've had enough. Well, after 40 years in politics, I should think so too. If you look at all of his UKIP videos, it's all appeasement and love me and want me. Now it's, you're going to try and put me on the back foot. This is a non-bloody fist fight. I'm going to put you on the back foot. At UKIP, we're taking the front foot. We're leading the charge. You can see that in our activism, in our demonstrations. It's fearless, it's courageous, it's bold. We are taking our country back. No mercy, no diplomacy, no surrender. And we want the fight. We actually want it. So the left want it, and the establishment want it, but they wanted it when we were asleep. Now we're awake, they're in real trouble, because they haven't got the stomach for the fight. They don't have the belly for the fight at all. So it's going to be glorious. This is what we're put here to do.
And when you say the fight, metaphorically you're talking, of course.
The fight back for Britain.
Yeah, the fight back for Britain.
Yeah.
Tommy, give me your views on Tommy, and what role would you potentially like to see him play within UKIP?
Certainly.
I think a lot of people are going to find that very interesting.
So under a UKIP government, Tommy would be knighted for his journalistic efforts exposing the Pakistani paedophile grooming gangs, indeed the Pakistani mafia. He is a hero for his courage, for his bravery, for his strength, for his indifference to fear. This is what inspires, this is what motivates. I'm never going to claim the very kind words that you and others have said about myself and UKIP and the team. I'm never going to claim success for that. We're working very hard, and we were put here to do this, true. But it's because of people like Tommy and Katie. They're two very well-known names, but there are others who came forward and said, I'm going to say what you want to hear and do what you want to see. That is what inspires. No different from a teacher in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Or mum and dad at home when it comes to
absolutely.
Form and propriety and behaviour, etc. It inspires us. Good tends to inspire us. So it's a question when I meet Tommy, because as you know, I've never met him. When I meet with Tommy, the same question will be asked, what do you want? I've been told in no uncertain terms he wants to concentrate on journalism and media, which of course is completely fair, and I completely understand. But to your question, I'd like to see him standing in an area and have him side by side with me in the Houses of Parliament when we take Britain back.
That would be, wow.
To make him Justice Secretary.
That's sending tingles down the back of my spine, the thought of it. But I mean, look, I think Tommy has made it clear. He's made it clear to me in the past he doesn't really have any political ambitions.
No.
But one of the last things I said to him before my communications with him whilst in jail were cut, we can't correspond anymore, God knows why, but there you go. I said to him, you know what? You went into prison, Tommy Robinson. You might have to come out Stephen Lennon. And there might have to be a bit of a pivot. Now, that's obviously for Tommy to decide down the line.
Sure.
One thing that does frustrate me with some of the other politicians that we've mentioned today, whilst they might sympathise with Tommy, they won't put their foot over the line. They'll step up to the line, but they won't cross it. Is it not time that these people crossed that line and said, look, this is the score, enough's enough?
Certainly, enough is enough, and we're taking our country back. It was always said to me over the last 4 or 5 years since getting involved, one more terror attack, that'll do it. One more atrocity, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Nonsense. the rampant migrant crime and the fundamental Islamist or fundamental Islamic jihadi attacks will just keep on happening, and that same sect of people who spend their money in Gale's Bakery, who live in gastropubs, who read The Guardian, who virtue signal, who suffer with an extreme form of liberal narcissistic personality disorder will continue voting green, they'll continue voting yellow, they'll continue voting red. That will never, ever change. We're angry, we're upset, we want change, you, me, the social media on the right, the influencers on the right, the 40% that don't vote, the people who have had their jobs and social housing stolen by migrants, your Tommies of the world, your Katies of the world, your Bens and Ruperts of the world. We've got the outrage, we've got the disgust, we've got the anger. Now it's time to put that into an actual plan of activism to re-inspire those voters who don't vote.
How do we do that, Nick? How do we reach those people?
There's only one way to do it. So to be clear, there is only one way to do it, and that's by demonstration. That's by leadership. That's by action. Now, it was put to me the other day about the deepest, darkest parts of Outer Hebrides and Cornwall and the northeast of England. Well, no, I'm one man, one heartbeat, so no, I can't. So what I'm asking the British public to do, indeed yourself, everyone, give me a chance, listen to what I'm saying. By all means, check out our manifesto missions policies, that's part of it. But follow me on social media. Give me a chance, listen to what I'm saying, and then at the end of it, acknowledge that my request is that each and every one of us become a political activist, and to completely renounce and reject that politics and religion shouldn't be discussed at the dinner table. I think we were lied to. That's part of a boomer conservatism piece. I think and born out of liberalism, I think we were lied to. I think it's time to get really proactive, take that rage, take that anger, and convert it into good. Every one of us is going to have to become a political activist. That means every person you come into contact with who's outraged, say, let's now focus on the solution. Every person you speak to who's frightful or depressed or anxious, say, we've got the solution. Convert all of this anger, depression, anxiety, outrage into there is a solution, whether they want to read the manifesto, read the missions or the policies, or start a WhatsApp group and start populating it with people that are concerned in their area. Join UKIP, reach out to the party, which again, it's all on the website who you need to speak to. It's our campaign manager, campaign@ukip.org. Say, I want to get involved, I'm joined up, I want to stand, and I've got loads of people around me who want to take their country back. It's as simple as that. If you aren't backing a political war machine in a first-past-the-post system, you are not going to win your country back. You're not going to deliver justice to the British people, and you are certainly not going to take your country back. Every one of us has got to get political.
Let's move on to something that's really controversial, and probably the subject that most people are going to be waiting for us to get onto: remigration, illegal migration, whatever you want to call it. Now, I said this on a live stream the other night, that when Rupert talks about deporting 1 million people, and this is a genuine concern, Nick, right, and I haven't got the answer, it's a question. When yourself or Rupert or Ben or whoever talks about deporting 1 million people, how would we do that without sparking a civil war? Because when we look at the incident last summer, I think it was in Leeds, when the police tried to extract one child from one family, it led to a riot in Leeds. How would we humanely, peacefully, whichever way it went, how would we begin to deal with deporting 1 million people without civil war breaking out? Because that's a big concern.
I think it's more like 10 million people, but I'll if I could start at the end and work backwards.
Sure, however you like.
So the average Boeing 747 carries around 360 people. So let's just say the forecast, let's work backwards, is 5 to 10 million. So that's 10 flights a day, 360 people a day, non-stop, back to back. I don't work in aviation control, never said I did, but we can do some very quick math.
Yeah.
When I get asked how long is this going to take, that depends on whether it's 5 or 10 million, but the forecast is 5 years of a full-time operation. So when people ask you, and it's very important, again, everyone becomes a political activist, you've got to have the numbers and the jargon and the rhetoric to go. That's one of my utilities, is to tell people the how, etc. So let's move to the middle ground then. So who are we remigrating? Unintegrated migrant communities, those people who don't sign up to our British Charter, which we've got, it's available on our website. Can you speak English? Are you here to spread the caliphate? Are you here to subvert British culture and Christianity? Are you a net receiver or net contributor? Are you pro or subscribing to prescribed terrorist organisations? Common sense stuff that does not belong in Britain, one little bit. And then we move from the difficult subject of remigration to mass deportations. Low-hanging fruit. 11,000 foreign nationals in our jails, already detained, gone. So this kind of is a bit of the how now. Well, they're already shackled, so they'd be restrained and they'd be removed. They're not going to resist. The 1.7 million people on visas claiming welfare, we know where they are. Are they going to go without a struggle? Don't know, but they're still going. So they'd be arrested and they'd be restrained and they'd be removed. The 100,000 illegals in our hotels, do we know where they are? Yes, they're already detained. They would need to be then restrained and removed. Securical vans, lorries, trucks, anything that was humane, i.e. there's a seat. They're not just put into trucks. There's a seat. They are restrained. They are removed. They are taken to the nearest port or dock. Then you've got the wider 1.2 million illegals outside of that, which is in our hotels, which is the 100,000. Well, we know where they are. Slightly trickier, but we know where they are. They're in the nail salons. They're in they're on the e-bikes. They're facilitating the Deliveroo economy. They're working in the car washes. They're on construction sites. They deliver food to our doors. Stops anyone using Deliveroo or subscribing to the Deliveroo economy.
These people are not going to go quietly, are they? A lot of them.
So what I did was I started here and I worked backwards, but now let me come back to the middle to say how. So your question is how we do it. Well, UKIP will set up a specific government task force. You can't just deploy the military because then we'd be vulnerable to external foreign attack, etc. You can't just take the 100,000 soldiers or 75k soldiers. So you have a designated special police team who was reporting to the cabinet, to the appropriate minister, who was tasked with the rounding up of illegals, and in the case of remigration, those who are unintegrated. Your question then becomes, can you do it peacefully? Yes, if they comply with law enforcement, it can be done peacefully. Your question becomes, can it be done humanely?
Yeah, I think humanely is probably the better word.
Yes, of course. Great question. It's very appropriate. Yes, it can be done peacefully and it can be done humanely if they comply. Now, whenever I've been in Latin America or North America or Europe or Australasia, if law enforcement asked me to comply, I complied. If they said, put your hands behind your head, I put my hands behind my head. That never happened, but I would. When law enforcement tell me to do something, I comply. So can it be done humanely and peacefully? Yes, but be under no illusion. I know the British public is nervous about this, and they have every right to be, but be under no illusion. It's either this or our granddaughters grow up in hijabs. It's either this or migrant terrorism, going back to my earlier point, will never stop. It will be don't look back in anger, and all it will do is just emasculate us and demoralize us and make us spiritually and mentally destitute to the point where we will just cave. We will just accept Sharia law. We will just accept the new norm from the establishment, which is essentially Islamic State or Islamism, because it goes hand in hand with communism, and the establishment want to see us living in pods, eating bugs, and certainly a far cry from where we started out, whether you Second World War, pick a point in history, in terms of our sense of belonging, shall we say, and our shared identity. So humanely, yes. Peacefully, yes. If they don't comply, then no, and you need obviously ambulance, fire, and there's probably going to be some legal involved there as well when you send the teams out to do all this. And then there's a few other points I'd like to mention. We've already said that there would be, let's say for example, a £500 reward for people who are willing to grass these people up. Something that no one talks about, which is just astounding to me and quite infuriating, is we've got all of these Bangladeshi and Pakistani communities in the UK. Where do we think the illegals are being housed? No one talks about it. It's absolute madness. So we would be offering another kindness. We would be offering a reward, saying if you £500 for example, if you do the right thing now, then etc. And then there's also the element of Scandinavia said they start paying people to go back. You pay them to go back. And then of course when you're doing all this, people will naturally leave of their own accord. And then one final point, stop the benefits to these unintegrated migrant communities, and it's a nonsense thing to say, stop the benefits to illegals, dramatic pause, rage, they'll go of their own accord. So I work backwards there, so it is doable, it can be done, there's all sorts of things you can do to make it peaceful and humane, but you mentioned, what about civil war, and you mentioned also, well, what if they don't want to do it? Be under no illusion, I know people are nervous, but these squads would be armed.
I think, most British people, I think, are kind, generous, considerate, tolerant. I've always classed myself as tolerant and peaceful. And it's important for people watching this to know that you feel the same way, in a respect that, where do we draw the line? For an example, let me try and think of one. Okay, so you've got a guy that came here illegally 10 years ago, met an English girl, had a couple of kids. I don't think there's many people within the British public are going to welcome their door being kicked down, dad being dragged out of the house, the kids holding onto his leg, and the police saying, well, sorry son, you're going back to wherever. I think the British public in general, the optics of it, the first time it happened, and it's on the mainstream media, the kind-eyed British public are going to look at that and go, that's not right. So how are we going to deal with that?
We're going to do it anyway. They're going home. I was having a conversation very recently, because this is something that's discussed weekly, I'd say, at top table. We thrash out all these different examples, no different to the one you've given. It's really important. I've travelled, I presume you've travelled. I've been very blessed, I've travelled. Do you know what I've never done when I've travelled? Let's say I was in accommodation. Mr. X is in my home and said, I'm an illegal, harbour me. I would never ever do that. Do you know another thing I'd do? I'd never carry drugs with me in Thailand. You know, another thing I'd do, I'd never carry drugs in certain parts of America, because you don't want to go into those facilities. Now, the fact that I wouldn't carry drugs anyway, thank God, it's not something that I'm interested in. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I do, Nick, I do.
You literally wouldn't do it. And in the case of that lady, because it's a very important example you give, she will have known, how did you get here? I asked people in those aforementioned Bangladeshi and Pakistani communities. They know they're illegal and they're harboured. In this case, the woman married and had children. Knew what you were getting involved with. You're going as well.
So you get my point though. There's going to be optics at times that are going to be very, very difficult to deal with. But you push on with it anyway.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm not insensitive to the comment. The optics are going to be hard to witness.
Would there be any exceptions anywhere down the line?
So this is where it becomes case by case, and that's why your example is so important. And I would ask your viewers to think up similar. In fact, I asked this of all the influencers and all the independent media chaps doing such a fantastic job. Think up some of these scenarios and put it to people and challenge people. I mean, I didn't flinch because I already know, because we thrashed it out. The answer is we're sending them home. That's the answer. We are going to do it. Do we care about optics? No. Do we care about being liked? No. We care about delivering justice to the British people. And if you start making exceptions for certain people, you are setting a precedent which says this policy is breakable. This policy isn't thought through. This policy isn't going to be seen through to the bitter end. Now, it's very important for your viewers. In the case of UKIP's mass deportations and remigration policy, we've been more than fair. But your example is so good because you say the chap was illegal. So he may have been here for 10 years. He's law abiding, and he speaks English, but he's illegal. He's here illegally. There has to be zero tolerance policy.
So there will be potentially no appeal or for that individual?
No, I see what you mean now, no. But there are other examples where you'd be quite surprised at my answer and you'd think, well, that's pretty humane actually, that's pretty decent of you. But in the case of being here illegally, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of what's happening in America at the moment. There are loads of American women who have married English men and they've been together, but the man never got a green card and they're potentially coming home. Horrible, right?
So Nick, as a former member of the For Britain Party, which was, as you know, run by Anne-Marie Waters, I am banned from joining Reform. What is your view on membership and who isn't allowed to join UKIP?
It strikes me as bizarre. I've heard about this ban policy with Reform. Now, this is just one of many red flags that, when we say Reform, we're talking about high command, that they just continually showcase to the British public. This is one of them. So at UKIP, we believe in second chances and we believe in atonement. So in the case of yourself, former member of For Britain, of course you would be allowed at UKIP. The question becomes twofold. People reach out saying, I've got a criminal record. I can't apply. So we always get that. So we're saying to people, no, apply. We vet you and we believe in second chances and atonement. So depending on what it is, you're fine because we've all got history, pasts, etc.
Everyone has,
Then the last bit of the two is what if you've been involved in far-right politics? It's very simple. We denounce far-right ideology and ethno-nationalism. So this is the brigade of white supremacists who hate and discriminate based on skin colour. We stand in total opposition to those guys, and not every FNAT is a goose-stepping neo-Nazi, but we stand in opposition to the FNAT and to the violent neo-Nazi as well. There's very clear water between us on the right and those groups. So let's just say someone came forward who was part of those prescribed organisations. This would deny them entry into the party. So it's very important. We believe in second chances, but if you've been part of a neo-Nazi organisation, you're not going to be welcomed.
Nick, one thing I did want to ask you before we go, and I know you've got another important meeting this afternoon. Thanks so much for your time today. Do you fear for your own safety? Do you fear for maybe finding yourself getting a knock on the door one day? How do you feel about that? What's your position?
I think we all fear for our safety. I think so. There's a couple of common sense points here. You know, when you cross the road, look both ways twice, right? In context of demos, there's a heavy police presence. So what I would say to your viewers is, there's really nothing to be afraid of when it comes to the left. The left are typically quite gutless. The left are typically cowards. The Islamists tend not to come out. They probably will end up doing that. But the left, the communists, the Islamists, they're not fighters. They're cowards. So there's really nothing to worry about. There's a heavy police presence. And I take the same advice. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Do I fear for myself? I suppose as we continue to up the ante, yes, it runs across your desk, doesn't it? You know, I might die, or I might get hurt, or God forbid this, or God forbid that. Of course, it would be silly. It wouldn't be natural if that didn't happen. So that does happen. But I'm I'm more frightened of migrant terror attacks. I'm more frightened of the Islamic Caliphate taking over our country. I'm more frightened of not doing my duty. I fear dying a coward. So there are things I would ask your viewers to ask themselves. Do I fear attending a demo? Do I fear for my life? Do I fear for my job? And then very quickly after that, ask, do I fear dying a coward? Do I fear not doing my duty? Do I fear not standing up for the most vulnerable within society? So yes is the answer.
And do you fear for your children and grandchildren's future?
Do you fear for your ancestral future? Do you fear not standing up and respecting and honouring our glorious war dead, our forefathers who fought against fascism, which will always be an enemy, whether be it right or left? Do you fear dying a coward when they didn't? They gave up their lives in indescribable ways. So do I feel fear? Fear is all I feel. All I feel is fear, morning, noon and night, and it's my best friend. So what I would say to your viewers and to people is, please listen to me when I say this. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Go through the process of weaponizing fear. Fear should be your best friend. It is omnipresent from birth to death. It is everywhere 24 hours a day. You either control it or it controls you. So once you've gone through that process, which isn't overnight, but so I've said it, after that, ask, do you fear dying a coward? Do you fear not doing your duty? Do you fear not standing up?
And what about fear from the authorities, Nick? Because we know, look, as a YouTuber, I have to be careful what I say. I wonder sometimes if you're going to get a knock on the door because somebody somewhere has been offended. I mean, you must feel the same, I would imagine.
Certainly. So in terms of law enforcement, I don't fear the knock at the door. It would be Christmas come early for my lawyers. So I don't fear a knock at the door. And the reason why I don't fear a knock at the door, i.e. law enforcement, is because I don't do anything silly. So again, another message to your viewers, moving on from personal safety, physical safety, mental health and well-being, again, have all those questions in the back of your mind. In terms of the police, don't do anything silly.
Yeah, bring your best behaviour.
Bring your best, so in terms of your day-to-day and in terms of when you can feel your temper getting the better of you, count to 10, stop. On demos, best behaviour. If you're having a conversation with a work colleague, always have in the back of your mind, we're taking our country back. You're not smarter than me. You're not putting me on the back foot. We are going to deliver justice. Again, it's taking that outrage. The far left specialise in totalitarian propaganda. That's what they do. They want to bait you. They want to create incitement. They want to create a reaction. They're the bullies in the playground. They're the name callers. They're the spitters. These people they are not of substance and character, and the men certainly aren't men. So again, to your viewers, please remember that once you understand something, you can control it. Once you understand something, you can do something with it. Don't fall for the traps of the left. Be on your best behaviour, but psychologically be prepared. Never allow yourself to be on the back foot, because that back foot leads to fight or flight, and that leads to undesirable outcomes.
Yeah. Where are we going to be in a year's time?
If my math is correct, and I don't think that it's incorrect in any way, we're going to see the membership base hit the mark that I want it to hit. That's for lots of different reasons. Once it hits that mark, it doesn't. I don't care if it goes north. Great if it does, but once it hits that mark, that's that done. In a year's time, we'll see the growing support at street level and on social media. And of course, perhaps most interesting to me is our growing list of candidates, because we're going to stand 650 candidates, and obviously we've got less than 45 months to do that. So in a year's time, membership up, great. Supporter base, these people putting their heart and souls into a political party, out campaigning, turning up when it means something to turn up, sharing work on socials, winning hearts and minds at street level, delivering leaflets, campaigning. That support, it means the absolute world.
It's a team effort.
It's 100% a team effort. I'm just a vehicle. I work for the people. I work for you. But the other thing is that candidate list growing as well. So each month we keep an eye on it, weekly we keep an eye on it, and it's growing, growing, growing. And we're going to put those community leaders in their constituencies, addressing local issues, winning hearts and minds locally, and getting stuck into local activism, because that's what inspires, as well as doing the big national news with the demos, etc.
Nick, it's been really enjoyable. It's been, like I said, it's been long overdue, and I hope it won't be too long before we do it again. I wish you good luck.
Paul, thank you very much for meeting with me. God bless you, mate.
All the best.
Thank you, mate.